Trump turns the U.S. military into his own private army. And my point is that Trump wants blood. I mean, think about this for a minute. The spectacle really is the point. The helicopters, the uniforms, the armored personnel carriers on the streets of Los Angeles. Trump is sending U.S. Marines into an American city. You know, the Marines are trained in killing people. And this is not a slam. I mean, you know, we need Marines to fight wars. They're very good at killing people. They do it quickly. They do it efficiently. They've got the most advanced weaponry, you know, devices for killing people in the world available to them. You know, the old joke is, you know, what do you do when you're in the Marine? Well, you blow things up and kill people. I mean, you know, this is the most lethal fighting force in America. They have never been trained in crowd control. They have never been trained in protecting people's First and Fourth Amendment rights and Fifth Amendment rights. They've never been trained in you know, defending the Constitution. They've never been trained in how to arrest and Mirandize someone. These guys are trained in killing people. And Trump just mobilized them onto the streets of Los Angeles. Now, there is a law specifically against this. It's called Posse Comitatus. It was passed in 1878 as a result of the violence that was being inflicted on former Confederate soldiers down in the South, on people in the South, by Union troops who were occupying the South. And that was basically the end of the occupation. It was the end of Reconstruction. And, you know, we could have a discussion or a debate about the consequences of that, but that's kind of a, you know, it's a rabbit hole I don't want to run down right now. But the point is that we have a really serious problem here with this, that the president is sending the Marines into Los Angeles. Meanwhile, he's gutted the FBI's domestic terrorism unit. He's turned DHS into a political police force. He's laying off scientists from NOAA and NASA because they keep insisting that the Earth is, in fact, on fire from the poisons that his fossil fuel donors are giving them. In the midst of this, Trump is looting the Treasury in broad daylight. He's giving away $4 trillion to his billionaire donors and golf buddies. He's repealing clean air and water protections, while wildfires are ripping apart the West Coast and battering the South, hurricanes, or tornadoes rather, across the Midwest. He's inviting domestic terrorists into the halls of power. His family and cronies are raking in billions from foreign governments, from Saudi royals to Russian oligarchs to Chinese front companies, without even a fig leaf of legality. And now as his approval ratings begin to wobble and questions mount about his finances, his backroom deals, his erratic behavior, his slipping down the stairs on Air Force One, he reaches for the oldest play in the authoritarian playbook: provoke unrest and then send in the troops. Now, this is not new. Nixon tried it. Hitler perfected it. Mussolini reveled in it. Trump is following a script so old and worn that it should have been burned for kindling by now, but here we are. Richard Nixon in the early 70s didn't try to calm down opposition to the Vietnam War. He deliberately stirred it up. He referred to student protesters as communists and bums, and cheered on violent pro-government mobs like the one that beat the what was it called, the Hard Hat riot in New York, beat peaceful protesters. He did everything he could, Nixon, to push the country into a cultural war fever. But even Nixon, I think in his worst moments, didn't think that he could turn America into a dictatorship, that that would be a desirable thing. I mean, his goal was pretty simple, and it's the same first-level goal as Trump. Make protests look like rebellion, make rebellion look like terrorism, and then make himself look like the only guy who could save the nation from terrorism and restore law and order. And Nixon succeeded for a while. It worked for him. It got him reelected in '72 at a really high price. I mean, Watergate, war crimes, the loss of a generation's trust in government. And now we've got Donald Trump with Stephen Miller whispering fascist bedtime stories in his ears, and Steve Bannon openly talking about civil war. But now the stakes are higher and the intentions are clearer. Trump is trying to actually end our form of government. He wants to replace our democratic republic and the New Deal, social programs and social safety net that came out of, out of the people's vote, out of the people's will. He wants to replace all that with this libertarian and neo-fascist, tech-run state. I mean, it was crazy. And meanwhile, while this is happening, while Trump is bringing out the troops, and some would argue, by the way, this what I'm about to tell you is the most important point, that this is the only reason he's doing it. I don't believe it's the only reason he's doing it, but I think it's a really important one, is where is the news coverage on the $4 trillion tax break for billionaires, this god-awful piece of legislation that's going to explode our deficit and our debt? Where's the outrage over the billions flowing into Trump's money bins from foreign oligarchs and governments in violation of the Emoluments Clause? Where's the investigation into the domestic terrorism unit that Donald Trump dismantled in the federal government while neo-Nazis are training in their camps in Michigan and Florida? Where's the climate report that was buried? Where are the Epstein files? Where's the fury over his push to gut Medicaid and privatize our social safety net? They're all buried under a pile of riot gear and tear gas canisters. And that's the playbook. Distract, divide, and dominate. Hitler provoked street clashes. He had his brown shirts go out and attack people in the streets to produce unrest in the streets, to draw out the police, to produce riots in the streets of Germany that he could then use to clamp down on protests and riots. Mussolini, same thing. His black shirts beat and murdered labor leaders. And then they demanded that the government, that the king at the time of Italy, impose martial law, which he did. Marcos in the Philippines, I was there the week that Ferdy Marcos fled the country. In fact, I got bumped off of 4 or 5 different Philippine Airlines flights in a row trying to get back to the United States because Marcos and all his buddies were, basically buying the planes. It was a national carrier at the time, the Philippine Airlines. I don't know. I'm assuming it's been privatized now, but they used student protest to declare martial law. Ferdy Marcos did. Erdogan used unrest, student protests in Gezi Park in Turkey to round up journalists, rewrite the constitution, the Turkish constitution, and jail his political rivals. This isn't just history. This is prophecy. Trump has studied these men. So what do? We show up. The one thing dictators can't deal with is widespread public opinion, as Abraham Lincoln pointed out. We do it this coming Saturday. We do it peacefully. Because No King's Day isn't just a rally, it's a declaration that we will not be ruled by strongmen, that we do not recognize the Trump family as royalty.